My GPA is not 4.0 this year. Oh no, or else colleges are not going to accept me. I'm not as worthy. That might sound crazy to some of you, but they told me they're gonna kick me out of the house. Hi there and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Helen and I am a 17-year-old, currently a senior in high school, and I'm from Myanmar. In this video, I'm going to be sharing why I'm not a 4.0 student anymore and what lessons I've learned throughout this whole experience. Before we get started, I wanted to disclaim that this video is not made for me to brag in any way. This video is made to share my experience as a high school student, and even if you're not necessarily in high school right now, I think some of the things that I'm going to be talking about will be relatable. And one last thing before I start, I'm not saying any of the things that I'm going to be talking about is the right way to do anything. I'm just sharing what I've done and what I've learned, so take everything I say with a grain of salt and let's dive right into it. The first kind of like topic I want to talk about is my history. So honestly, I've always been Miss Goody Two Shoes. That's what some of my friends like jokingly call me, because I always felt like I had to follow all the rules so that I won't be disappointing anyone. I was always a good student. I did what the teacher told me to do. I stayed quiet when I had to, and I listened to what my parents told me, and I took my grades very seriously, starting from like elementary and up till middle school. Like, I was so serious about my grades. And I remember clearly the last few weeks of 8th grade, there was a counselor from high school. She came into our class and she talked about the transition from middle school to high school, and she told us that in high school your GPA is the most important thing, and that is the main thing that colleges are going to look at to see if they're going to accept you into their school or not. And she said your GPA matters from the first day you step into high school. So I was like, oh no, this is going to be very scary, because everything counts. Like, everything you do is going to count. So I was like pretty scared about that whole idea. And then when I finally got to freshman year, I was like, okay, let's do this. I tried really hard. I was consistent in what I did, and I got the 4.0. I honestly don't really remember much about the work I did the whole year, but I remember the day that I got the principal honor roll for achieving 4.0 GPA, and I didn't realize how much that day, that little moment, was going to impact my whole mindset and my whole high school life, I guess. So basically, after I received that certificate, I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of a big deal, because now I can't get a GPA lower than 4.0, or else colleges are not going to accept me, because they want to see progress, not decline, and I can't really make more progress from 4.0 because my school has, I believe, unweighted. The one that's like 4.0 is the highest. So I was like, oh shoot, what have I done to myself now? I can't mess up. Like, I need to get 4.0 every single year now, or else I'm not gonna get accepted into any college. And I was just so caught up in that idea that during my sophomore and junior year, that was really what motivated me to earn straight A's, and I kind of lost the whole idea of actually trying for myself and not just to get to the end goal. That was a pretty long short history of my whole like student career up till this point. And now I'm a senior. I'm graduating in 2 months, and my GPA is not 4.0 this year, and I'm actually okay with it. So of course, I still have a bit of a difficulty trying to transition from the mindset that I used to have to the mindset I have now, and it hasn't been easy at all, and I'm still not at the point where I'm totally satisfied with who I am regardless of what GPA I have. So I tend to correlate this number with my worth, and sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough and I'm not as worthy because I'm not 4.0 student anymore. That might sound crazy to some of you, but that is my reality, and since it's a habit that I've developed since I was really young, it's still something that I need a little bit more time like adjusting to. For the most part, I feel like I've made peace with this concept and this idea, and I've learned a lot of things on the way. The 3 things that have all led to me not getting 4.0 this year is 1, senioritis. It is totally real and it is unavoidable. 2, my, I guess, shift in priorities. And 3, my time management. And I would say that is why I didn't get all A's in last semester, and I'm not expecting to get all A's this semester either. The next thing I want to talk about is the lessons I've learned from going from a straight A student to a not straight A student. So the first thing I learned is it's okay to shift your priorities, because as you grow up and as you experience more things, you just see your life differently. There is no right or wrong priority, I guess. Like, a priority is something that's unique to everyone. So if you prioritize your grades in schools and that's something you want to work towards, then good for you. This year my priority has shifted to having more balance. So that's the second thing I want to talk about, which is balance. That is so important in maintaining a healthy life, healthy in terms of your mental health and your physical health as well. I feel like it all starts in your head. So if you feel in peace with your life, then everything else works out better somehow. And the third thing I've learned is that school is not your enemy. Most of us want to see school as like this thing we have to fight every single day, because we have to wake up very early and do a lot of work that seems pretty pointless to what we're gonna be doing in the future. I mean, I totally get you. I've totally had those thoughts, but then from what I've experienced, I've learned that although you might not use calculus after you finish high school, what it's trying to teach you is that sometimes you just gotta do things you don't want to, because I'm pretty sure even when you grow up and even when you have a job that you love, there will be some parts of it that you have to do that you're not necessarily a big fan of. Because of that, if our only motivation in school is to get straight A's, then school is not going to be fun, because once you don't get that, you're like, okay, now what am I doing this for? Because I'm spending all this time, all this energy trying to study, trying to get my work done, trying to do all the things that my teachers are assigning me to do. But at the end of the day, I'm not even getting what I'm working for. And that was pretty much my motivation for most of my high school career. And although I enjoyed school, like I genuinely enjoyed doing those assignments and those work, it wasn't really necessarily like fulfilling for me, because sometimes I felt like I just wasted my time for doing something more and not getting a good grade for it. To sum that up, the third lesson I've learned is to see school as a tool and not as the enemy, and to be able to utilize that tool effectively for you to go on to your next step in life. So the next thing I want to talk about is my parents. So what they feel about all of this. Well, they told me they're gonna kick me out of the house if I don't earn straight A's by the end of this year. I'm just kidding. No, they didn't say that. Assuming what they're telling me is 100% what they feel and they're not hiding anything from me, they're actually fine with this. They're like, you shouldn't put that much pressure, because at the end of the day, graduating is not your end goal. Like, this is just a step in your journey. So don't think of it as like it's either do or die. As long as you're putting in the effort, and as long as you're not just being lazy every single day. And honestly, before I told them about it, before I got my report card, I was really scared, because I always thought they expected it of me, because that was what I have given them my whole life, and I just thought they would be really disappointed in me and like see me as kind of like useless if I didn't get the grades I always got. So yeah, that was kind of nerve-wracking for me in the beginning, but after I told them the whole story and everything, they were fine with it. So I'm happy. Overall, the biggest takeaway I've had from these 4 years of high school that I'm almost done with is that being intentional is so important to our goals and to everything actually. And everyone has different goals, different priorities, and you should find your own before you try to work towards anything. Because for me, I always thought my goal was to be a straight A student, but I realized that that wasn't really what I wanted for myself necessarily. I'm not saying getting straight A's is a bad thing, of course not. I mean, like, if that's something you can achieve and something that's important to you, then go for it. I'm totally with you. But I just learned that I was not really doing it for myself necessarily. I was doing it for the people who I thought expected that of me. Like, the pressure of that and fear of disappointing them, actually those two things drove me to work harder more than anything, and it was pretty unhealthy for me to do that. So now I know that my priorities are not totally just like one thing. I think everything is meant to be as long as you live every day intentionally, because in the end things will work out. Right now it may not seem that way, and it did not seem like that for me for a long time. And to be completely honest with you, I am pretty nervous about my college decisions coming out soon, and I'll be making a video on that, which maybe I will, maybe I won't, depending on the results. I mean, pretty scared about that. But I've learned that people will have opinions on your life if you've dramatically changed from the person you used to be to the person you are now. Not everyone's going to be on board with it, not everyone's going to support it. Some people are going to be like, what happened to her? This is not her at all. And no matter who or what, like no matter how many people say that about you, if you like the change yourself and you're happy with the person you're becoming, then that's really all that matters. I'm glad to say that I am a much happier person now that I am not a 4.0 student. And although that's not like directly correlated, my point is it's all about the balance, and I feel like now I have a pretty good balance in my life, and I'm more intentional with whatever things I'm doing every day. And this is a sign that if you're not happy with where you're at in your life and you feel restricted or trapped, this is an opportunity to rethink about what your priorities are in life and to do what you think is best for you, because you are the only person living your life. No matter what people say, nobody else is living your life, only you. So do what is best for you. If this video has helped you, give it a like. If it hasn't, it's okay. I hope you still enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos from me, make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notifications so you know when I upload my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!